everybody, and welcome to the 27th episode of Season 2 of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Richie. Richie, what's going on, dude?
Still fighting the same cold I was last Saturday when we recorded.
Your voice is noticeably deeper.
That's what a week of coughing will do to you. You got a good sexy baritone going on now.
Yes, exactly. I actually respect your opinions more. With the deep voice.
Behind them.
Yeah. You sound very grizzled and knowledgeable now.
He's been around the block. He knows what he's talking about.
He probably saw the Lions win the championship in 1957.
Back in my day, and I walked uphill to that game both ways.
In the snow. Dude, speaking of snow, did you hear that that staff, or that, what do you call it? It was a, what do you call Press conference. Did you see the press conference with Todd Bowles where they asked him what he was going to do to special prepare for the Detroit weather?
Yes.
His answer,
play inside, don't they?
He's like, well, nothing special because we're inside.
Yeah.
My favorite part was I'm not going to, are we going to do anything special to prepare for the 10-second walk from the bus to the building? No.
Yeah, I love reporters that clearly don't do their jobs.
Well, it's funny. I heard what happened there. That was like a weather girl. That their station had so many firings, and they're so short-staffed that they sent the weather girl to do a sports interview. And it's like, well, I feel really bad for her now because she's gone viral.
I feel bad for her too, because she probably was the first thing that came to her mind. She's like, I'll ask a question about something I know.
Yeah,
and then
weather.
Now you're the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
Sorry, random weather girl.
But it was funny. It cracked me up. His response was great.
Yeah.
We're inside. Yeah.
Oh, man. Gotta love it.
Well, we've got the Wildcard Weekend is over. And I will say that even though it's over, I'm still engaged and happy. So if that's a spoiler, you haven't been watching Wildcard Weekend. So
I was just saying, if you don't know the results of the games, why are you listening to this podcast?
Yeah, exactly. But we're gonna We're gonna start with a top 5 of teams you have no playoff memories of, and this was hard to do because.
Yeah, I don't know why you picked this one. Honestly, I changed the rules for my top 5. Just telling you.
Well, it's because I thought when I wrote it down that it would be really easy because there's 32 teams, and there are a lot of teams that have a lot of playoff. You don't remember seeing them often, but then you start thinking about these teams, and there are seasons where one season you remember them doing something, and it might not even be losses. It might be wins for some of these teams that are just you never see them. So it's kind of crazy. I put the 5 that I couldn't think of. And it's funny because one of them I absolutely remember one now that I'm thinking about it. But
we talked about a memory last night.
Yeah,
for one of these
yes,
teams.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was like, okay. That's why I changed it to no positive playoff memories.
That works too.
I can't remember these teams having a happy moment in the playoffs. So
we can deal with that.
I had to do that because I couldn't. I still had to repeat 2 of your teams. So
it's just. I only picked this because of the fact of the Lions winning their first playoff game in 32 years. And the only playoff memories that I have of the team that I can remember off the top of my head is the picked up flag against the Cowboys. And that wasn't even the most recent playoff game for the Lions. That's just the one thing for the Lions in my fandom that sticks out playoff wise. And so
no, I get it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I found 5 besides the 1 that I feel like I don't remember any, but I feel free to tell me them.
There's another one on here that I'm surprised. I'll tell you a memory I have, and I think you'll remember it, but we'll see.
That's what I was hoping, so you could remind me of some of these things, because I got one for one of yours as well. I can remember. So, We'll start with my number one is the Jets. That's yours as well, right?
Yeah, that one's pretty easy. I can't remember the Jets being in the playoffs,
Yeah.
like legitimately.
I mean, I remember a lot of Vinny Testaverde teams back in the day, but I can't remember if that was playoffs or just during the regular season, you know?
So the last time the Jets were in the playoffs, 2010, they actually made their second consecutive AFC Championship game.
Wow. Don't remember
And
that at all.
I do remember now Rex Ryan, and I think it was actually Mark Sanchez,
That would actually make sense.
having like a stretch of good seasons. But again, for me, as far as positive memories, I don't remember what they did in those playoffs. They clearly didn't make the Super Bowl any of those years. So,
Well, it's funny because, like, even if it's not positive, even if it's not negative, if it's just no memory, like, for example, they make the playoffs and go to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row. The Eagles did that. What? How many years did they make the NFC Championship game? But I don't remember those playoff games at all.
yeah, there was a lot.
But there's a lot of these teams I didn't put on here just for even bad things that I remember, right? Like I remember Jacksonville going to the AFC Championship game and losing that one season because they had Calais Campbell on there and some people I liked, but they didn't.
Yep.
I don't remember anything specific about that season, you know? But with the Jets, I don't even remember them being in the playoffs in my memory bank. So that's why they're on there.
No, same for me. Now that I look at it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember like them with Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan having a little success, but obviously it's not something that sticks in my head since I didn't think of it earlier when I was writing these and making my list.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the next one for both of us again, the Raiders. This is a team that's like been good, been in multiple decent seasons, and I'm sure they've been to the playoffs with Derek Carr, but I do not remember it. Like, at all. I'm assuming if you look it up that's Derek Carr will have been the last playoff quarterback.
Actually, 2021, they lost a wild card game to the Bengals. No memory of that whatsoever.
Nope. Can't remember that.
Wait, that's when the Chargers and them played in week 17, and if they had tied the game, both would have made the playoffs, but the Chargers tried to go for the win, and then the Raiders just said fuck you and like beat them with Josh Jacobs just running all over them or something. I do remember that game, but again, they lost in the wild card round. No memory of that. Their last, I mean, they made the Super Bowl in 2002. Like that's
okay, jeez.
Yeah, like well, I don't give a shit. But yeah,
who was their quarterback? That's
God, I don't even think it matters.
I'm curious because I was playing these games like these TikToks keep coming up that are like testing your NFL knowledge of players and over time, and if I'm trying to think of the quarterback back then,
Rich Gannon.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would have thought he'd have been retired by 2002. That's crazy.
Nice and old.
Yeah, crazy. Well, if 2002 was the last time before 2021, then there's a reason we don't remember them in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And they lost that Super Bowl. So again, it's like I don't remember the Raiders the last time they had a happy memory in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when we get to the news, we'll talk about maybe why hopefully we do have some playoff memories coming. Be interesting.
Yes, exactly. You want to do your 13 and we can discuss?
Yeah, and we can talk about how I've already ruled this one out. My next one was the Commanders, and I think maybe I was just blinded by the name Commanders and not thinking Redskins because...
Oh, see, you could have flipped it on me and just said that's what you meant the whole time.
Yeah.
Was that the Commanders have no playoff memories. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what's funny is I would have flipped this. If I had remembered this one, I would have flipped this out for the Texans, except for last week, because now I have playoff memories of the Texans. But this one's totally knocked off the list because I remember RG3 in the playoffs and the knee injury and all that stuff back in the day. So
yes, yeah,
mark that one off.
I remember when they make the playoffs, but I almost put them on my list for no positive playoff memories, but I do remember, I think it had to have been 2006. The 2006 season, because me and you were at that pizza place that had opened up across from
OG's?
the ASW base. Yeah. Watching their wild card game, and they won the wild card game, and I remember that. Then of course we lost in the divisional round. So like that is the probably the only positive playoff memory I have since '92. But yeah, so they're not on my list, unfortunately. But my third team is the Titans. I have a lot of playoff memories of them. I don't really remember them doing much in the play. I mean, they'll win a couple games, but like they haven't really ever had a big exciting memory that I can remember.
Which is sad to me because they have one of the best Super Bowl memories for me. And I can't remember the wide receiver's name, but I remember time running out, him getting tackled on the 1 yard line and stretching out as far as he could to try to score the touchdown and then losing the Super Bowl. And I think that was like 98, 99. But that is one of the...
That's a sad memory.
Well, but I mean, like, it's sad for them. I'm not a Titans fan. For me, it was an exciting Super Bowl and one of the best ones I ever watched. So...
Yeah, I mean, that was an exciting finish that almost won the game.
Yeah, was
that the...
God, I don't know who they were playing, but that's the biggest Titans playoff memory I have is that one. That
it must have been the Rams. It says 99 lost to the Rams 23-16.
Let's see, 99 Titans receiver stretch. Let's see if that comes up with anything. Kevin Dyson, that's what it is. 1 yard short, Super Bowl 1999. Yeah. Oh, it's showing the play right now. Yeah, he stretches out. He gets the ball over after he's gone down. Like he stretched it out. He was at within the 1 yard line. He's down and then he jumps forward. That was that was good times.
Yeah. That was, I remember, gosh, I think I was watching that live when it happened.
Yep. That's back. So I became a Lions fan in the 97-98 season. That's when I started watching box score, watching the Lions back then because the games were never on. But that was one of the first Super Bowls that I sat down and watched instead of just hanging out with all the kids while our parents watched the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So
yes, I remember those days.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
All right, so next up for me, I've got the Bears. And I know the Bears have lots of playoff experience. A lot of it is before I started watching football. And as far as playoffs go in the 25 years that I've been watching religiously, I can't really think of any Bears playoff teams that stick out to me.
And I will say that obviously because of my dad, they stick in my mind more. But there's two memories that I think are at least one that's very significant for the NFL. Devin Hester returning the opening kick of the Super Bowl for a touchdown.
Nice. Which
is just amazing. And then the second one, the most recent one, is the double doink kick that happened against the Eagles a couple years ago. Because that one, they actually, like, Chris Collinsworth will bring that up fucking randomly sometimes when you're watching Sunday Night Football. Like, but yeah, those two are the ones that pop in my mind. I mean, of course, the 85 Bears, but that's so long ago. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Devin Hester returning the opening kick of the Super Bowl is just, like, iconic in my mind.
Makes sense to me.
Never been done before.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Who's your fourth?
My fourth is the Chargers. For a team that made the playoffs, with Phillip Rivers and even with Herbert, they're just another team that I'm like, I can't remember them having, a really good playoff run or anything like that. The most recent memory I have of them was blowing a huge lead to the Jags last year.
Yeah, I said the biggest thing for me is the Phillip Rivers era. But it's funny because I remember Phillip Rivers in the playoffs all the time, but I don't remember them doing anything in the playoffs. I know he was there, but I don't remember any of the games specifically. You know what I mean? So I know they won, but I don't know.
Yeah, like I looked it up. They made the playoffs in 2004, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2013, and 2018, I think would have also been Philip Rivers. I mean, they made the playoffs a lot under Rivers, but it's even their best run, 2007, they lost to the Patriots in the conference championship.
Damn.
That was it.
Yeah.
Twice, they had a first-round bye and lost their first game in the divisional round.
That's rough. Like, how do you get a bye and then lose immediately? I hate that.
Yeah. Unless it happens to teams I hate, in which case I'm happy. But when it happens to, like, the Chargers, who I like, it's, yeah. But, I mean, for a team that, made the playoffs a whole bunch in the aughts, that's what we call that decade, by the way, is the aughts. They just never really made a run.
Huh. Brick says, YouTube doesn't show you live to me. Well, that's weird. Obnoxious.
That is weird.
But hello to BMZR, Jet, and Brick. It's good to see you guys.
Hello.
But yeah, the Chargers are one that I hope after they get a new head coach, we can actually get some good memories here. Before all their good players are gone.
Much talent, man.
Yeah.
So much talent.
Yeah, exactly. My last one is the Panthers. It's funny because for the longest time, the Jags were like the team that like you never had any playoff memories of the Jaguars because they were just always a top 5 draft pick team. And then a couple of years ago, they went to the AFC Championship game, and then they got Lawrence, and they've been decent for a while now. So the Panthers, on the other hand, though, I know they've been to the playoffs. I just now remember Cam Newton being very good and playing in the playoffs, winning an MVP. But I just don't have any memory in my head that pops up when I think of the Panthers. And maybe it's just recency bias because they're so bad.
Awful.
But
yeah,
that was another one that's hard to think of playoff memory.
I only remember the Panthers in the playoffs. Because they beat the Cardinals in the NFC Championship game. I think it was 2013. And then went on to lose to Peyton Manning's Broncos in the Super Bowl. Those are the only reason I remember those is because it's the Cardinals and I was pissed. And then of course it was Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl. So yeah, those are my only memories of the Panthers. But no, I agree. You try to think of a recent time. I mean, that was 11 years ago. I don't even know if the Panthers have made the playoffs since then. I'm gonna look it up.
Imagine.
Let's see. 2017, actually, they were a wild card. They had to have had Cam Newton then.
Is that when he came back? Is that when Cam Newton came back to the team?
No, that was probably his last run because he came back, I think, during COVID. 2015 Super Bowl against the Broncos. That was
Cam.
Yeah, but yeah, so. I mean, 7 years ago was their last wild card appearance.
It's crazy.
They were an expansion team. Duh. I'm like, they didn't have any playoffs before '96, but never mind. My last team is the Falcons, and that's because the only memory that pops into my head when I think of the Falcons in the playoffs is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Dirty Bird.
I honestly couldn't tell you another moment that the Falcons have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's funny because they had to win other games to get to the Super Bowl, but
yes.
Do you remember those? No. And that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Early 2000s?
2016 says right here. Yeah, well, I guess that's still 8
Oh,
years.
yeah, that's the Matt Ryan year. Or Matt Ryan was there.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's the one they blew the giant lead they had?
Yep.
Yeah,
28 to 3, I think it was. Yeah, 28 to 3.
See, that's a memorable thing, but I still forget it because it's just like, who wants to remember a team getting like up 20 something points and then blowing the Super Bowl. That's crazy.
Well, it makes me feel better about my team sometimes to think.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, the sadness of others doesn't make me feel as bad about my own.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of crazy.
But yeah, other than that, I'm like, can't think of a single time the Falcons. I mean, they've been in the playoffs before, obviously, but no memory of it. No memories of it.
Yeah, I think back to like Deion Sanders on the Falcons. I'm pretty sure some of those high stepping plays were in the playoffs, but like obviously I don't know that for sure, which means
they made the Super Bowl in '99 and lost to the Broncos. I could not have told you that they were in another Super Bowl.
Was that when Deion Sanders was on the team?
Let me see.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? That's the question.
I don't see his name on the roster.
Let's see. He played from... He played on the Cowboys from 95 to 99. Then he was on the Redskins, and then he was on the Ravens. He was on the Falcons till 1993, so he definitely wasn't on the Super Bowl team.
Yeah. Their quarterback was Chris Chandler. Not a name I recognize.
Chris Chandler? Okay.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like they've been in 2 Super Bowls. I couldn't have told you that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Just yeah.
Interesting.
Nutty. Well, there you go. That ended up being I mean, even though it was difficult to get the list going, it was actually fun walking down memory lane and just looking back and remembering some things that we had forgotten.
For sure. And the plenty to forget with those teams.
Yes, very forgetful.
No. All right, so what do you got for the news?
So the news, there's not too much going on this past week. The Raiders hired Antonio Pierce full-time as their head coach, which makes their locker room happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, very happy about that. Although if Max Crosby had demanded a trade, he probably would have gone to Detroit, so that would have been cool.
Yeah.
But either way, good for the Raiders. Now they just need to figure out who their quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about drafting a quarterback. I mean, I guess they'll probably, if they get, well, they don't have a new head coach. So, I mean, that bodes well for Aiden O'Connell because I think Pierce likes him, but we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see because there are a lot of first-round quarterbacks next year. So,
but for Aiden O'Connell, if he had any other head coach, his chances of furthering his career as a Raider would be 0 to none.
Yeah, absolutely. Where did the Raiders pick? Let me see here.
13, I think.
13? Oh, yeah. I think they picked 13, and this mock draft from NFL.com has Bo Nix going 14 to the Saints.
Well, oh, really? The last mock I saw had the Raiders taking Bo Nix. So
yeah, they just have him going 1 pick after. So it's like, all right, maybe there's a chance they could draft one if they want one, but I think you're right that Alec Pierce knows Aiden O'Connell. Maybe he likes him. Maybe he'll try to build around him. But we shall see. Tyler Higbee, Rams tight end, tore his ACL on a dirty hit.
Dirty?
Game against the Lions.
Oh my God, get out of here.
I just wanted your reaction.
I was like ready to talk about this, and I hear you say dirty, and I'm like, we're going to talk about this for sure.
I wanted to get you revved up so that when you talked about it, you'd be upset.
Rams fans literally have nothing to talk about now that we kicked them out of the playoffs, and they want to talk about dirty hits. Get out of here. Literally all week on Twitter, all I see is them talking about this dirty hit. And first off, when Kirby went to tackle him, his leg wasn't planted on the ground, on that foot. So how is he supposed to know that suddenly the leg he's going for is going to be the one that's planted on the ground? He doesn't. Not to mention you can't stop your momentum the second he does plant it. Second of all, the NFL tells you to tackle low, not high. He tackled low. Guess what? Freak injury? Sorry. The fact that it happened to both him and Tyler Hawkinson is not a sign of dirtiness. It's a sign of that's the play you're supposed to make that the NFL won't flag you on. And by the way, he wasn't flagged on that play. So get out of here with this dirty hit crap. They want you to hit low. He hits low. If you don't like it, then the NFL needs to change the rule. But that's the way it goes. And then is the soundbite that's making the rounds this week is from Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever, who said, I don't throw that pass. Why? Because I don't want my player to get injured. Why? Because that's a legal hit. So I understand that your season's over, Rams fans, and you got to just continue to talk about something, but it wasn't a dirty hit. He's not a dirty player. Calm down. Not to mention all the different Rams hits that people have found on tape from this year hitting people in the knees. So please stop. You
what
lost.
About,
Get
did
over
you see
it.
Matthew Stafford's mic'd up where he even bitched about it?
Well, guess what? Matthew Stafford, middle of the game, high on energy. That's totally fine. Whatever. You're the.
No, I agree. I just wanted to get you going.
You can be mad, Matthew, that you threw a pass where your tight end got injured. That's fine. You want to blame it on somebody else, that's on you. But the fact of the matter is, he lunged at the legs to get the tackle. You switched plant legs. That ended up being the leg that got hit, and now you're injured. That's not our fault. So.
No, I think the thing that stands out to me is, like you said, the NFL doesn't want them hitting high, so defenders are going low, and it's not like, he hit him with his helmet to his knee or some shit. Like, it's just bad luck, and that's unfortunate with football. People get hurt from bad luck. Like, you're getting tackled. Sometimes your body goes the way it's not supposed to go.
Yes,
it's not
exactly.
It's not like Kirby Joseph went over there and, like, purposely grabbed his leg and then rolled or tried to twist the shit to, like, tear it. It's like, no.
What?
Man,
Like, I don't remember who we played when they did that to David Montgomery on the sideline
Yeah.
And David Montgomery was out 3 games because he refused to go out of bounds. Instead, the defender just twisted on his leg and put him out for 3 weeks. And in my mind, the only thing I even thought about that play was, why didn't you just go out of bounds? I didn't even think about the player being dirty, because if you can't get a player down, how are you going to do it? You're going to twist on them until they fall to the ground, because most people would do everything they can to not get hurt. And so if you start twisting their leg, they're going to go down. And that's a completely legal move, just like that hit was. So stop blaming other people. You lost. Get over it.
No, I just wanted to get you going.
Oh, you always will.
Jason Kelsey is probably retiring. He decided not to officially announce it yet, but it sort of seems like that's what he's going to do. But who knows? He's probably just going to change his mind in a month. The best news for me is that the Bears interviewed Cliff Kingsbury for offensive coordinator, which is fucking hilarious. Like, the guy known for having a terrible offense in Arizona, but for some reason people call a offensive guru, and he goes to USC for 1 season.
Not as a coordinator, by the way.
Terrible.
Not as a coordinator, by the way.
But they did terrible this season. USC did, and the Bears were like, "Yeah, give me some of that."
I hope they make this hire. Then they can just stay bad. That's so stupid. What are they thinking?
Their probable plan is, he coached Caleb Williams last season, so if we draft Caleb Williams number 1, we'll have his coach with him. It's like, do you guys not see how bad Caleb Williams was last year? Like, oh my God. It's so
the Cardinals
hilarious.
had Kyler Murray, who he coached, and that didn't work out. What makes you think it's going to work out here?
He had a man crush on Kyler Murray, and he still looked like shit.
Yeah, get out of here. Cliff Kingsbury does not deserve a coordinator job in the NFL.
Oh, he deserves the Bears coordinator job. That's fitting.
The Bears deserve whatever they decide to do, because if they decide to do that, that's just ridiculous.
And being a fan of the Commanders and Redskins and Washington football team, watching Dan Snyder put people in place that had no clue what they were fucking doing and making decisions like this and just being able to know, like, oh, that was a mistake, we're fucked for 5 years. Like, watching the Bears do this shit, it's like, God, the team leadership is terrible for the Bears, and it has been for 30 some odd years.
Eberflus kept his job, which was surprising in itself, and now he's like, let's go with Cliff Kingsbury.
I don't know. And then they're going to get rid of Justin Fields for Caleb Williams, who's the same guy but with an attitude problem.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
The same guy that thinks that somehow he can say 9 months before the draft that he wants 10% of the team's ownership when he goes there.
Yes.
Okay.
He's Lonzo Ball for the NFL.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
I feel bad for the Bears. I feel bad for my dad. But,
Yeah.
Oh, well. At least the Commanders are on the right track.
Yeah.
Why don't you cover the last two since you added them?
All right, so Mark Andrews, who's been injured the entirety of the season, almost. I think got hurt week 6. Healthy, but not activated off the IR this week for the divisional round. The belief is that he'll be activated for the conference championships if they make it. So, I mean, Isaiah Likely's been doing fine in his place, so I see why they're probably playing it safe with him. But I just thought it was interesting that one of the best tight ends in the NFL healthy, but they're like, well, we'll wait another week. So you just got to hope you win. Texans are hot, so
I feel like the Ravens are kind of just like, nah, of course we're going to beat the Texans. Like, we don't need Mark Andrews to do that.
I'm sure that the Browns probably thought that too. It's the Texans, lol.
I'm excited for this game. I know, I mean, the Ravens have looked uber dominant all season, but the Texans just have this magical quality going on about them this year that if they pull off this upset, I would not be shocked. It would just be a very exciting game.
I definitely have them covering the 9.5 points myself. So
yes, yeah, I bet that too. Actually,
yeah, it'll be
I bet that too. We'll find out in 2 hours. This is the early game. Good.
Yep. The Mike Tomlin. I don't know if you saw his press conference after his loss, but it's like you're asking him this question right after he lost in the playoffs in a very hard season. Someone asked him, "You've only got 1 year on your contract," and started trying to talk about his contract and whether he was going to be there next season. And he just walked out of the press conference. You should have seen his face too. It's the perfect meme. He rolls his eyes and then just walks off stage right. It was
just done.
Hilarious. But I'm like, you asked him this question right after a tough loss in the playoffs. I'm not surprised he just walked out on you. So, but it looks like Mike Tomlin has said that he is going to be back next season for his last year of his contract with the Steelers. And after Matt Canada left and they hired someone to cover for him the rest of the season and managed to make the playoffs off of that, they'll be looking for a new offensive coordinator, not on the current Pittsburgh Steelers staff. So I loved it when people do that, because when you fire an offensive coordinator on a team and hire someone on the team, most of the time their offense is very similar to the guy you just fired, because, hey, they've been working together hand in hand, so now you're running the same thing, only with a few nuances that are different, right? But they need something completely different in Pittsburgh, and that's what they're going for, so that is good to me. So
the other thing I did see about the Steelers was he did announce that Kenny Pickett is back as the starter, but they plan on bringing in competition for him. So that will be interesting to watch.
Gardner Minshew, question mark?
I mean, he deserves a chance somewhere.
Yeah. So we'll see with that one then. Cool.
All right. Well, there you go. That's all the news for the last week. Getting into last week's games, we talked about the Texans-Browns. Big win for the Texans. Really, it's funny. I think there were 4 of these games that, because I was sick, I'd fall asleep in the second quarter with it being close, and then I'd wake up in the second half, and all of a sudden one team was dominating.
2 days in a row I did that. Saturday I fell asleep during the morning game. I woke up and they were being blown out. Sunday, same thing. Fell asleep in the middle of the game, in the morning game. Woke up and it was a blowout.
Yeah, it's so weird, but the Texans just started running away with this when Joe Flacco decided to turn the ball over a jillion times.
Didn't they have several interception returns for touchdowns? 2 of them, yeah. Steven Nelson and Christian Harris.
Yeah, it was crazy. They just, and I think they almost came back to back. It was weird.
Yeah, because I remember I couldn't have been napping that long, because I woke up at halftime to see the score. What was it? 24-14 was the score at halftime, and I'm like, what happened while I was asleep? And it was two quick interceptions.
Pick six was one drive, 6:05 left in the third, and then the next drive, he threw another pick six 2 minutes later.
Yep.
Like that was bananas. Who does that?
Joe Flacco, because the magic wore off.
Oh yeah, but Joe Flacco, everybody's favorite. This time last week, he was gonna make a Super Bowl run and blah blah. But yeah, good for the Texans. Definitely, they feel like the hot team right now in the playoffs, in the AFC at least.
Yeah.
Dolphins Chiefs 26-7. I know it was super cold during this game. It was pretty boring otherwise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Never thought the Dolphins were going to win in that weather.
Never, and then they never made it feel like it was even close. Like KC kept moving down the field whether they scored or not. Miami just kept going in. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Dolphins didn't have that many first downs. 8, 9, 10,
they probably
11.
didn't. It was probably just one of those.
They had 13 first downs. That's between passing and rushing. Kansas City had 14 passing first downs themselves, along with 8 rushing. So Kansas City had more passing first downs than the Dolphins had overall. So, yeah, it just felt like the Dolphins would go in there on offense, do nothing, go out, and then the Chiefs would go and run down the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dolphins completely fell apart at the end of the season. That magical offense from the beginning of the season somehow fell apart towards the end. So either I
think it was just
defensive
injuries.
coordinators figured
Hill
it
getting
out.
Banged up.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, but I think everybody was there that game. So
yeah, I think that game it was so cold.
The coldness.
And the Dolphins just cannot play in cold weather.
Miami guys heading into the top 5 coldest
I
game
think
ever.
There was a stat I saw actually that said that the Miami team has never won a game where the temperature was below like 45 degrees.
I'd believe it.
Like that's pretty damning.
I mean, like, how do you even practice for cold in Miami?
Yeah, build a giant meat locker.
Yeah, just a giant freezer for them to stand in. Can you imagine if they did? Can you imagine if they did? That would be a massive story.
They could go to like an ice hockey rink and just play on the ice.
Oh, man, I would love to see that practice.
That'd be awesome. Does Miami have a hockey team? No, Miami doesn't have a hockey team.
No, probably not. I would say that would be very odd since it's the temperatures there, but Arizona has a hockey team, so
yeah. All right, Rams Lions. Let you recap this one.
Very nerve-wracking. The best game of the weekend by far, for a viewer standpoint. The Lions jumped out to a quick lead, 21, what is that? 21-17 at halftime. This whole second half was just defense, and it was crazy since we have a terrible defense. But the Lions won this game by holding the Rams to field goals in the red zone. And it's one of those things where when you have a bad secondary, you let a team get to the red zone, but suddenly you're good in the red zone because there's not as much field to cover for your bad secondary, and they just held them to field goals and managed to hold on to win the game. So, and it's crazy, and one of the best feelings is that this game didn't come down to plays, drop passes or passes that were too short or anything like that. The Lions actually had the victory formation based on a bunch of key first downs on their last drive that just let them be able to run out the clock, which just made that win that much sweeter. First playoff win in my Lions fandom. We'll never forget that game and how it went. It was absolutely insane. Crazy fun game. So
yeah, that was absolutely the most exciting game of the weekend. Which is also a double-edged sword because it would have been nice to have them just coast to victory and not be on edge the entire time. But hey, they got the win and it was memorable.
Yeah, and with the amount of upsets this weekend, It's fine because if they'd been, it would have been a runaway game. Statistics say it would have been the Rams running away on the Lions. So
right,
good to get the win and move on. And this next game
absolutely
makes it even more awesome because the Lions get a home game this week again.
Yes, yeah, the Packers pulling off a big upset of the Cowboys. And, the box score, 48-32, doesn't sound that bad.
Looks better than it should.
Yeah, because at the start of the fourth quarter, it was 41-16.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, good for them on scoring 2 late touchdowns and 2-point conversions and getting everybody all excited. But the Packers just utterly dominated them. Aaron Jones running all over them.
He was
frustratingly looking good.
He was the best. He was the most fun thing to watch in that game. Aaron Jones looked like a beast. Like I'm looking at the box score and seeing that he only had 118 yards because I would have guessed he had 150 plus the way he was running in that game. The 3 touchdowns don't surprise me. And my favorite thing that I learned from this game is that Aaron Jones is from UTEP.
Oh, nice.
So he is a minor from the city I was born in, from their university. That's where he went to college, and one of the most famous UTEP NFL players now. So
I did not know that either. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I had no problem. Even though he's a Packer, I had fun rooting for him because I wanted the Cowboys to lose. Not to mention seeing a UTEP guy do well, always a good thing.
Yeah. I gotta love those minors.
And like I said, I told my Cowboys friend who didn't respond to me after I said it, but I'm like, looks like the Lions are getting that home playoff game because the ball doesn't lie. After that Cowboys win against the Lions, getting them the second seed, we still get the second home playoff game because you guys lost in the first round at home.
And the Cowboys get to go home, and Mike McCarthy gets to talk about how they have a championship organization, and it's like, but you haven't won a championship there. Like you're a divisional championship organization, but so are the Buccaneers. So am I really supposed to be impressed? No. But the Cowboy fans will tell you how great they are.
Well, I'm only happy about this loss because Jerry Jones still is keeping Mike McCarthy, because I saw this random path off the beaten path that had Bill Belichick going to the Cowboys and just making me more angry.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Because I'm like, Bill Belichick going to the Falcons would be very interesting to me to see what he could do with that team. Him going to a team like the Cowboys that I already hate, not interesting, very annoying. So really hoping Belichick goes to the Falcons because it'll be interesting what he can do there.
Yeah, it seems like that's where he's going to go. I guess he's interviewed twice. I'm curious to see what he'll do at quarterback because I mean, I don't see him winning anything with Heineke or Desmond Ridder. But
yeah,
if they traded for Justin Fields, which they're like the number one destination, I guess, then all of a sudden he's got weapons. So
yeah, and then they've got there's a very big and dedicated Falcons fan base, being from Georgia. So
oh yeah,
I mean those fans. I mean, you put the Falcons on your memory list, right? Like they need some kind of push, something to get them excited.
Yeah, a little happy memory for Falcons fans.
Yeah.
All right. Steelers. Bills got to win. I mean, I didn't expect Mason Rudolph to pull off this upset, so no big surprise there. Good for Buffalo.
It was looking like a blowout after the first half, and the Steelers looked better than the Bills in the entire second half. Of course, they still lost because of the big lead the Bills built in the first half. But after the first half, I'm like, well, this game's over. They're just going to blow them out. And they made it respectable in the end. The Bills did not look like the Bills of the first half and the second half, and the Steelers managed to try to make a comeback. So I can see Steelers fans being excited for next year. And for the Bills fans, you won a game. You won, and you're back playing a home game this week where Patrick Mahomes is now forced to play on the road in the playoffs for the first time ever in your building where it was freezing. So it's going to be interesting.
And there's still a bunch of snow again.
The funniest thing about the Bills this game was that them putting out their tweets asking for people to come shovel snow off the seats for $20 an hour, and people doing it and getting ready for the game. I also heard some of this, but I did not confirm or deny whether it was true. I heard that this game was the first time in NFL history that there was no assigned seating. Like if you shoveled out your seat, you were able to sit wherever you wanted during this game.
That can't be true, because if you're a season ticket holder and you have your seats in the lower bowl in the first few rows, and some Joe Blow who made $20 is sitting in your seat saying, "Well, I shoved this seat, it's mine." Fuck that. No.
Yeah, that's why I said it seems unlikely, but I did see that in multiple places.
There have been way too many fights.
Well, it's Buffalo. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Last game, Bucks, Eagles, hilarious. I laughed the entire time. Happy for Baker Mayfield.
Even close.
No, this was so freaking funny to watch Philly just continue to fall apart.
I was loving it the entire time because in my mind I'm like, the Lions have played the Buccaneers this season and won. So for the Buccaneers to come to Ford Field for the divisional round, I feel pretty good about that. So,
I mean, Baker, I'm so happy for Baker, man. He looks so good, and I wish he wasn't playing the Lions. I wish this was like the NFC Championship game instead.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just, as a Commanders fan, to watch the Cowboys and Eagles both get blown out in the first round, it just warmed my heart.
Well, the funniest part to me is I called Mike Evans 150 yards catch receiving and 2 touchdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, if Baker had thrown all of the long bomb touchdown passes that he did in this game to Mike Evans, I would have been right. But he spread that ball around so much that, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 different receivers for Baker Mayfield in that game where he threw 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. That Mike Evans didn't have to be the one offensive weapon on the team. Godwin got in on the party. Trey Palmer with a 56-yard touchdown catch. David Moore with a 44-yard touchdown catch. Like, they were just... I knew the Eagles' secondary was bad, and that's probably what was going to kill them, which is why I called the Mike Evans yardage. But it didn't have to be just Mike Evans. It was literally everyone burning the Eagles. So
yeah. Everybody was open.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing, so I noticed this and I thought it was a pretty cool. So there's 4 games this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at ESPN, they have a link to where you can buy tickets for them. For the Ravens game, the lowest available tickets are $113. 49ers, $144. Bills, $195. Lions, $450.
Which is hilarious that you can find a ticket for that price because they've been talking about all week that this is the highest priced non-Super Bowl playoff game ever because the average ticket price is over $1,000.
Well, that's probably why upper level row 18 in the nosebleeds, $450.
Yeah. People are all in, especially in Detroit, but as far as like people wanting to see the Lions do well and be a part of that, ticket-wise, everything. It's just crazy how well these home games are doing because they hadn't had a home game in 32 years. So
yeah,
people want.
I think this is probably my favorite. The highest price ticket, upper level, row 16, $30,351.
Jesus Christ. Someone's just
That's
hoping.
someone just trolling people.
Someone's hoping for a misclick.
Yeah. Someone's just fucking around.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So looking at our playoff seeding and picks, for me in the AFC, nothing changed. Nobody lost. The Chargers the Bengals were already out. So my AFC championship of Bills over Chiefs is not going to be possible because they're playing this weekend, but hopefully the Bills still end up winning. And in the NFC, the Eagles lost, and the Cowboys lost. So my NFC championship, you didn't mark them out, but my NFC championship of Eagles over Lions is not possible anymore. So my Super Bowl of Bills over Eagles, unfortunately, is no longer possible. But hopefully the Bills can still win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is a lot like March Madness pick'ems because we're just hoping for the extra point. You still have a chance at the Super Bowl winner. I still have a chance at least having one of the Super Bowl players or teams.
Well, it's like one of my teams in the AFC Championship will be in it because the Bills and Chiefs are playing each other.
Yeah.
And then if the Lions win, I'll have one of the teams in the NFC Championship. That's the best I can hope for after the Eagles just absolutely fell apart in this season.
Yeah, because you look at my AFC, I had the Bengals over the Bills. Bengals are out, which means I picked the Bills not to move on, which means nothing. I can get nothing from that. And then I picked the Chiefs over the Ravens. Well, they aren't playing each other. So if the Chiefs beat the Bills, I can get them in the NFC Championship. But I also picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, so it won't matter after that. So my AFC is chalked. For the NFC, I had the 49ers over the Cowboys in the divisional round, so that can still happen as far as 49ers winning. And I had the Eagles over the Lions in the divisional round. Well, the Eagles are out, so my only chance is the 49ers to make the Super Bowl because I had the Bengals over the 49ers. So we'll see what happens.
So if the Packers upset the 49ers, you're royally screwed.
But, I would be completely fine with that for one reason, because that would mean an NFC championship in Detroit.
That'd be freaking amazing. And against the Packers?
Against the Packers, yeah. Wink.
Game 3 rubber match. Ooh.
Wink talked about that before the Lions even played their game. Wink was telling me that wouldn't it be cool if the Packers played the Lions in the NFC championship? And I was like, only because we would be the home team.
Yeah.
So,
it would be exciting, but it would also be nerve-wracking, I'm sure.
Well, especially after the way what the Packers did to the Lions at home on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. All right, so we'll go into our wild card picks. You went 4-2. I went 3-3. It was the Eagles-Bucks game, right? You picked the Bucks.
Yeah, I picked the Bucks. You picked the Eagles. So that was the one different we had.
You remember you almost took the Texans too. If you would have taken the Texans and followed your gut, you would have been 5-1.
Isn't that crazy?
You got to listen to your gut, man. You've been on fire this year. If you feel it, just go with it.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens.
But first game up is the Texans at the Ravens. The Ravens favored by 9.5.
Yeah, that one's. I feel like I'm still gonna pick the Ravens, even though I believe the Texans will cover the 9.5 point spread. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans won, but I feel like after that big win for the Texans last week, Ravens got all that rest. I feel like the Ravens are gonna win.
I thought you'd go with the Texans. To me it seems like you want to, but you don't want to. I think you should just go for it. But I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think the Ravens defense just looked way too dominant this season. And honestly, the offense has gotten a lot better as the season went on. So it could be one of those traps where having a week off actually is bad for the team. But I think at home, they should be all right. So both going Ravens. Packers at 49ers, 49ers by 10.
So now I'm going to make the crazy prediction that I probably should have done with the Texans, but I'm going to pick the Packers to beat the 49ers.
Damn. I was actually thinking I was going to do that to have something different from you.
Yeah, because the way the Packers played the Cowboys last week, who had one of the best defenses in football,
mhm.
and supposedly one of the best offenses. So here we go with the 49ers, who I feel like they have a good defense, but it wasn't. I don't think statistically it was as good as the Cowboys. I just feel like this game is ripe for the Packers to do it again. But maybe they won't surprise anyone this time, and it won't matter, and they'll lose. But I feel like the Packers can do it again.
I was gonna go Packers. Because I do feel, as much as I hate to say it, Jordan Love is on a hot streak. He's looking very much like a first round quarterback. And the 49ers defense is not that good. They just have a lot of offensive weapons, which this should end up being a high scoring game. But yeah, I think the Packers. It definitely feels like a Packers Lions NFC Championship game is what the NFL wants to happen as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the 49ers so we can have something different. But I think you're right. I bet the Packers and Texans to both cover those spreads.
Yeah, 10 points is for Packers who just blew out the Cowboys. That's a big spread.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I guess they're both number ones in these games. So.
Yeah, but you gotta ride the momentum. Texans and Packers have all the momentum, but we shall see. Bucks Lions by 6.
That's a huge spread for a Lions in a playoff game. When I saw that number,
it's the most the Lions have ever been favored in the playoffs.
I would not be surprised.
Correctly, yeah.
That's crazy. I'm gonna pick the Lions just because I feel like the Rams were better than the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are more on fire at this point, but I feel like both Buccaneers and the Rams were on fire both times they're going into Detroit, and the Lions are also on fire. So, yeah, if our secondary can find a way to cover Mike Evans and not let those receivers streak down the field that were getting those long passes like they did, that's the biggest question mark for me. Is the way the Buccaneers beat the Eagles is the same way they could beat the Lions, throwing it down the field on our bad secondary. So if they can keep that from happening, we'll be okay. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I'm worried about this game. The Buccaneers looked very dominant. Yes, the Eagles have a bad secondary, but the Eagles have a good offense, but the Buccaneers were still able to shut them down. And that's the thing that worries me about this game.
Yeah, it's very similar as far as the only non-similarity between the Eagles and the Lions, besides them both having bad secondaries, is that the Lions have been winning.
And yes, the Lions have. The Eagles did not run the football as much as they should have. The Lions have a very good running game. So if they can lean on that and control the clock and wear down the Buccaneers defense, then I think they'll be fine. I'm going to pick the Lions. Obviously, I don't want to jinx them by picking the Bucs either. But I am very nervous about this game, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Again, it'll probably be a fucking one-score game.
Yeah, exactly.
The most competitive game of the weekend once again. Okay. All right, Chiefs at Bills. Bills favored by 3.
Give me Josh Allen over Mahomes. Mahomes on the road for the first time. Not at home, comfortable in the playoffs. I think it's going to be tough for him. And Josh Allen just looked like a man on fire last week. The runs could not be stopped on the run. His passing was fantastic. It looks like the Bills are on a streak right now.
Yeah,
they look like they're destined for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this one's. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs won because lol, but the Bills deserve to win this game. They look so dominant. I want them to win so badly. I'm gonna pick the Bills, but the little part in my brain that says everything's fixed is like, well, leave it to the fucking NFL to let the Chiefs win because it's Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift and blah blah blah.
The good news is for the Bills is that they are not from Miami, and even though they're playing in the cold at home, it's not real. Yeah, they're used to it, even though the Chiefs are as well. So the cold should play a factor, but it's not going to be an advantage for either one of the teams. It's going to affect them both the same. So
yeah, exactly.
The only difference will be that the Bills Mafia in the stands, it's a home game for the Bills. So
well, and that's hopefully they can rattle Mahomes and Josh Allen can continue to put up points and run like a beast. And I want the Bills to win so bad, man. They deserve a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
if they win that game and the Texans can't beat the Ravens, I will be happy to watch either of those teams play in the Super Bowl, the Ravens or the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I Texans, Ravens, Bills, I'm happy with all of them making the Super Bowl. I just don't want to see the damn Chiefs in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, exactly.
And then in the NFC, obviously I want the Lions, but I really don't care. I don't want to see the Packers in there, but it's been long enough that it's not gonna rub me the wrong way like the Chiefs would.
The only reason if the Packers made the Super Bowl that I'd be okay with it is because Aaron Rodgers isn't there, and it's like, yeah,
that's true.
You couldn't do it.
Funny.
You lost how many conference title games to not make the Super Bowl, and then Jordan Love's first season he does it.
Yeah, that actually would be really hilarious.
So,
and then Aaron Rodgers would come out with some crazy social media post the next day because he needs
the attention on him.
Yeah, big old media whore. All right, well, there you go. There's our divisional round picks and podcast.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Games start here in about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes.
Hopefully next week my voice will be back to normal.
You know what? I couldn't tell. So, well, I mean, I could tell at the beginning,
so weird.
But it became very normal to me the entire time. So
it sounds so weird to me.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
it always, the voice in your head compared to the voice everyone else hears is just such a weird thing to me. Like,
I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it too.
I do a podcast and I hate hearing the recording of my own voice. I never go back and listen because I can't stand listening to myself.
Yeah, I just sound nothing like I do in my head. Like I'm sure everybody does. So
yeah, it's so weird. But
all right, everybody. Well, until next week, when we find out how we did on our picks and we go over everything that happened in the divisional round, you can find us on X/Twitter at Coffin Corners. You can find us on TikTok at Coffin Corner Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at Coffin Corners, and you can find us wherever your podcast can be found. Just search up Coffin Corner Podcast and look for the pylon. That's what that thing's called. Look for the pylon icon, and you'll know it's us. So until next week, Richie, unless you have anything left.
Nope, just let's enjoy some football.
Then that's it for us. So everybody, I hope you have a great divisional round weekend. If your teams aren't in it, root for the Lions. And if your teams are in it, I hope they do well, unless they are playing mine. Have a great weekend, everybody.